feel like we've entered the sort of TV studio stage of the morning now.
It did feel like Graham Norton. We were just offered a drink, but sadly it's just water.
It's just... yeah. I think there'd be some questions asked if we had some Graham Norton-style drinks up here. But it does make them much more open in their question answering, I think. So maybe it would have been a good idea. Really, really, really good to have you here with us, James. Thanks for coming. I know you've had what have you had on this week? What is this the end of for you in your long week?
Probably best not to talk about it. Done some interviews which are great. Spent a bit of time in London hanging out with some other bishops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. Well, thank you for being here. It's really good to have you here. And guys, afterwards, I'm sure James will hang around, and so feel free to grab him and ask stuff and get to know him, put him on the spot.
It does feel like the second interview's coming, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the end, if you want to have a go at the bishop, please do grab him.
Yeah, that's good. That's what you're here for, right? Answer all the difficult questions.
Absolutely.
We would love to just get a little bit to know you a little bit, because many people won't, of course. And then in a moment, James is going to do so we're going to do a mini interview and then a mini talk. Go with us on this and lean in. It's great having James here, and there will be lots of wisdom to be gleaned for all of us, just to put you on the spot even more. But yeah, let's listen up for those nuggets of wisdom and everything else that goes with it.
Lean in to try and find the nuggets of wisdom.
Where are they? Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you... I guess we'll get on to being a bishop and what that means and everything, but how did you end up on this whole journey of faith, following Jesus in your life, in a sort of, again, a nugget rather than
my whole biography?
Your whole biography, yeah.
I'm a Plymouth boy. I grew up in Tamerton Foliot. Went to the village... This is the whole life story. Went to the village church, and amazingly... It wasn't the most inspiring church, but it was incredibly releasing to do stuff, possibly from desperation rather than faith. When I was 14, I'd become a Christian at 11. I went to a church down the road, to the youth group there, and my faith came alive. And just being with... I became a Christian at 11, had no Christian friends really. At 14, came into a church very much like this, and found just what faith really meant. This is a complete sidetrack, but I was really struck as I was watching the children go out and watching your wife's group go out. What a huge number you have of that 11 to kind of 14 age. And I just looked at them, I just thought, so much potential, but also so much challenge. And that kind of make or break time for so many young people. And just going, almost that, how as a church are you praying for them? Not in fear, but in faith that they are the young people whose whole lives are set by what God's doing in this place now, almost. Sidetrack. So 14, at that point, when my life came alive, I guess in that, I just found I knew lots about God and the Bible because I've been going to church. And loads of people had come to faith and didn't. And I was like, I wish I could be paid to do this. If I could have this as my job. And that began a whole journey towards ordination. And I went off and did loads of stuff, and I'm preempting your next question. Plymouth stayed in my heart. And I was a mission enabler, so doing stuff all across Devon for a couple of years. And one day driving into Plymouth, my wife would say I'm the least emotional person possible. I just had this kind of emotional thing, almost, this makes it sound way better, like Jesus weeping over Jerusalem, me feeling vaguely warm. Just came in and went, God, if I could do more for this city, this area of Devon, I'd do anything. And I'd always vowed I'd never be a bishop. And I think God went...
And here you are.
That's the thing to do.
Great. That's good. Wow. Sort of rewinding slightly, you've been around the Diocese of Exeter for a while now, which is the sort of area of the Church of England of which we are a part. And so,
the bishop's in the house, so he has to explain the Church of England to you.
Good. How did you end up moving to Exeter? This is a church plant here. It doesn't always feel like it, because once a church has been planted for a while, it's just a church, isn't it? In fact, every church, it was a church plant at some stage. you did a little bit of church planting yourself in Exeter. Tell us a little bit about that story and journey.
So we were really happily up in the wild north in Birmingham, and we were beginning, God kind of stirred us up to move jobs, and we looked at various things and just nothing felt right. And then through a random series of events at Soul Survivor, somebody said, oh, I met someone, and he said, are you James? And I went, yeah. He went, you're up north, aren't you? He's from Devon. He said, I just think we've got a job God wants you to do, but all I can remember is your name was James and you're from Birmingham.
Wow.
And we met each other in a field in Soul Survivor, and he said, there's this incredible job. It's planting a church trying to reach young people who have no faith or interest in faith. He skipped the bit about being team vicar in 5 churches on the side. And it was in the Church Times. I was the only person who found it because it was such a bad advert. I was the only person who applied for it. So I got it.
Great.
And so Liz and I came down in 2007 to start this church, trying to engage, particularly around the FE College in Exeter, young people with no interest in God at all. We used to do stuff out on the Cathedral Green, talking to people, praying for people. We used to do night cafe opposite nightclubs, where our church was in Exeter, just trying to help people encounter Jesus and be changed by that encounter. Again, just struck earlier, when we came down, our son, who's in the second row there, who's very tall, he was 4 and his little brother was 2, just like your kids, kind of running around, climbing when you're trying to do kind of lead in that. And it was just the 4 of us when we started.
Amazing.
Are you heckling, child?
I know the feeling.
He's bigger than me and can beat me up, so I have to be careful.
Right. Okay, so you've been on that whole journey, planted a church there, started working for the diocese, and now you've been bishop at Plymouth, something like 6 months-ish. What's I guess for people here from all sorts of different backgrounds, what does it mean to be a bishop? Tell us a little bit about that.
I kind of feel like we could turn the tables now, couldn't we? Mike, what is a bishop?
No, I'm doing the interviewing. Come on.
Yeah, what is a bishop? What it's like being a bishop, it's just an incredible privilege. I think Liz and I made these 2 vows, other than the ones to Jesus and each other. Liz vowed she'd never live in Plymouth. Now you can all have a go at her afterwards. And I vowed I'd never be a bishop because I thought they just go to boring services and they say something and it ends up in the press the next day. And I'm not safe for that kind of ministry. What it is just this amazing privilege of being able to go around and help the leaders, pastor the pastors like Mike, have a strategic view. So in connection with this church, really exciting in terms of what's our vision and strategy. This isn't about just this great church, but this place was established to plant or revitalize other churches. So to look at how do we do that best. I get the privilege of being bizarrely in a world that's supposedly so secular. I get invited to all these nice meals and meetings with people of influence in the city, and I get to be the Christian presence and voice, and a catalyst, and an opener of doors to things happening. The other thing which is really exciting, I hadn't realised how much I'd love it, but every time a church loses a vicar, I get to go do 2 things. One, come to the meeting discussing what they want next, which is very different from here. For many churches, it's about what they want. We want someone who's going to do the services, who's going to look after us, who's going to do me. And for me to go in and go, but what about them outside? You want a vicar that's going to reach out and help inform that, and then be on the interviews. And I know some of you have a vested interest in that concept. And that is amazing. I'm sat looking at your 2 people on the interview panel with me to find your new vicar. And just to reassure you what incredible people they are. Having done 1 round of interviews, and an interview for a vicar is an amazing thing because it's not like any other job interview in the world where you're not going, who's the best, whose CV's best? You're going, God, who's right? And that is just amazing. Their wisdom in that process of going, these people are great, but they're not right. And the faith to go, let's go again. And let's find the person God has for this church. And I think, it may not feel like it for some people on the stage, but actually the fact you haven't got a vicar is really great. Because it means God's doing different stuff in you, preparing you for the future. And as a bishop, I just get to come, be involved for a little bit, walk away again. And actually carry on leading in a different way.
So on that, what do you've obviously been super involved in that whole process, and we shared the news over the last few weeks, and that we didn't appoint anyone at the first round of interviews, and I think the advert's gone out again. As we do that and we look for a new vicar, actually I'm constantly sort of reminding myself and people here that the church doesn't stop when you lose a vicar. It's not all about that person. What would you want to see from, as you look at us as a community, fitting in with this city and this diocese? What are you looking for the sort of, as you look for a new vicar, but sort of more than that, from the church that vicar will represent and lead and be a part of, for us as a community here? What's the call on us, do you think? Just a little wisdom on that.
I think it's more obvious in rural churches, where you have people who want the vicar to come and do it for them. You know, the vicar leads, the vicar has all the God knowledge, the Bible knowledge, and we want someone to come and feed us, equip us. Where actually church is about every member. It's about everybody, all of us playing a part. And what a vicar should be doing is setting direction with the other leaders, but really releasing the people. And I love the fact you have your dream teams. You know, that actually, that's where the energy of this church is. The people on the stage are more about putting the focus out to you. And so I would say, what I'd be saying to you is, are you praying for your new vicar? We had an amazing, recently, I went to a vision evening. It was the second one, and they went, "Oh, Archdeacon, you told us we had to pray." So we've been trying that. We've prayed every week for months for our new vicar. Now, at the moment, when we advertise, not for a church like this, but for other churches, Plymouth's a long way from the rest of the world. We might get 1 or 2 applicants. They've been praying, that particular church, for months every week, and they had 5 applicants, and we shortlisted 4 of them. And the Archdeacon was talking to me about prayer or something, and I went, "Well, you do know, you said they should pray, they did it, and we were shocked by the applications they got." And that's amazing. Prayer changes things. But also, are you praying for them to come and lead you and do everything? Or are you praying for yourselves? What does it look like for us to be a church? And the bit as well, Plymouth's a weird place and a wonderful place. Yeah, the scary statistic that if you move from North Plymouth across, it's not quite as straightforward as south, but the life expectancy of people drops by 10 years. The difference in the lack of equality in this city. One of the great things of the Church of England is we believe passionately, what the parish system sounds like an old-fashioned thing. It's actually saying every human being in the UK has a church that's there for them, whether they know it or want it or not. And we want to be the churches everywhere. So some places, like East Devon, a lot of churches subsidise the rest of Devon because they have more money. And there are places in Plymouth where there are churches where they don't really have the money. Like Ernestsettle. I'm going there on Easter Sunday. I'm confirming 12 people. That's a church plant where actually people aren't at the point of giving much. They're new Christians. And that's being subsidised by other churches. I was in a church the other week in Plymouth, and I was chatting to a lady at the end. And she said, "I live in a 3-bed house. And one of my children and their partner and babies in one room. Another of my children and their partner and babies in the other room. I'm in a room with my partner when he's not in another, he's here half the week. And my teenage son's on the sofa downstairs. And she's got 2 children in care." And she said, "I love having a full house because if it's empty, my mind starts going and a depression kicks in." And I was just like, that's who the church is there for. People like that with no hope. And actually, doesn't need to be that extreme. Loads of people in this city have no hope. And I'd love it if St. Matt's was a place that was a place of refuge and life and the gospel for those who come through your doors, for those you go out of the doors to, but also you're a resource. So what else can you do? What's the vision? St. Simon's Mount Gold, but where next? Where's God calling you to go that no one else can resource in a city? And what a call and what a gift. And maybe for some of you, that might mean in 5 years' time you're not sat here because you're sat in a different building, because you're a part of a team of 5 or 10 bringing the light of Christ to a bit of Plymouth that needs it.
Amen, that's awesome. Final question. You've sort of preempted this a little bit, but obviously you're a bishop in the Church of England. We're part of the Church of England. Lots of people come from lots of different backgrounds. What do you think it means for us to be part of the Church of England as a whole, the diocese here, and how can we sort of best serve and play our part in the vision? I could test you on what's the diocesan vision, but otherwise, yeah. How can we play our part as a church, but also as individuals in that bigger picture here?
Well, Mike, the way you could do it is by espousing the vision of the diocese, which is it's growing in prayer, and prayer's key, because actually we really need prayer. Every church, every deanery, every diocese at the moment needs prayer more than ever, and the people within them. Making new disciples. And that's a double whammy of going out and helping people come to faith, but also as disciples growing in faith. And in serving the people of Devon with joy, which is great with Love Southwest. That embodies all of them. The Church of England's a weird thing, and I don't imagine many of you are in the building because you are here just because it's Church of England. You're here because you love St. Matt's, or you were up early and stumbled in here by accident. The Church of England has its challenges, but has some great stuff. That you're not dependent on a charismatic leader. There's something more than who's leading at this moment. There's something of longevity, even in a church that was revitalised recently. There's something of structure, of vision, of strategy, that you're not a church on your own, you're part of a bigger family. That matters for for safeguarding and communication, all sorts of practical things. But it matters on a bigger picture of we're not in it on our own. The elephant in the room at the moment in many churches in the Church of England is what do we think? What are we saying about sexuality? And you will see in the media all sorts of misquotes, accurate quotes, a little bit of something. And I would say it's not the biggest thing, but it's really important because it's about people. But at the moment, the way we react and treat each other on some of this stuff threatens not just the Church of England, but people's perception of Jesus and the gospel. And that's on all fronts. The Bishop of London is the person leading on this. She used to be a bishop in Devon, and she has been treated atrociously and threatened by Christians because of what she said. And that's not okay. And there are people saying and doing things in terrible ways. And I'd love the church to find a way that we can love, hold to what we believe, and love together. And I guess that's something for a challenge for us, but also don't believe what you read in the press. Don't buy into the gossip of social media. And where you see bad behaviour about this or anything else, call it out rather than play into it.
Really helpful. Well, I think I'm going to make space because I don't want you to miss out on time to open God's word to us. But thank you for sharing those things. And I think that is a really good reminder for us before you share, just to be praying, whether it's for our church in general, whether it's for the appointment of a new vicar here, but also wider for the Church of England and for the bishops in this whole situation as it goes forward. Let's be a people who are supporting our leaders in prayer continually and making that a real priority for us. You go for it, and I'll get the chairs out of the way, hopefully.
It's slightly distracting, isn't it? I'm now going to start while he's moving the chairs, and you're all going to be, are you listening to me, or are you going, is he going to drop it? Oh. In a minute, I just want to read you a bit of the Gospel of Luke. It comes just after Simon Peter's mother-in-law's been healed. I don't know if you know. So Simon, Andrew, Simon's brother, meets Jesus. And he comes to Simon and goes, I've met the Messiah. I've met the Messiah. I've met the one. It's going to take Simon like months to work out the same thing. He's heard from his brother Jesus is the Messiah. He's been hanging around with Jesus, so much so that Jesus is in his house, his mother-in-law's ill, and Jesus heals him. He's been moved by Jesus, but I don't think he's moved yet in his faith. And I want to just look a little bit at movement. So let me read to you Luke 5. It's on the screen. One day as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, the people were crowding around him and listening to the word of God. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from the shore. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat. When he finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we worked hard all night and we haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I'll let down the nets." When they'd done so, they caught such a large number of fish that the nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats so full that they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man." For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they'd taken, and so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partners. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on you will fish for people." So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything and followed him. I want to think really quickly about moving, the physical movements in this story. So Simon Peter has been moved by Jesus because he's seen some amazing stuff, but I don't think it's moved his life yet. Because we see Jesus is there by the side of the water about to teach. And what's Simon doing? Well, he's just getting on with his life. He's there just mending his nets, cleaning his nets. He's not there following Jesus. He's impressed, but hasn't changed. And I wonder whether that's true for some of us, those people we know. That there's something, we're intrigued, we want to know more, but we haven't gone anywhere. I love the story. Years ago, we were at a church, and a lady was saying, she was probably in her 50s or 60s. She said that she used to be part of a toddler group, and she was going, "I don't know what to do with my life. I want to know more." She was asking questions, and somebody came up to her and said, "Do you want to come on the Alpha course?" And she said, "Everything in me wanted to, but it just was a really bad time, just had a child." So she went, "No thanks." And then a little while later, they did another Alpha course. And somebody, same person said to her again, "Do you want to do the Alpha course?" And she went, "Nah." Because at that point, her husband had just changed jobs and things were up in the air. This woman, 4 or 5 times, someone said to her, "Do you want to do Alpha?" Every time that she was moved, she wanted to, but didn't. I love the fact that people kept asking her. Because I think often we look at our friends and our family and we think they're not bothered, they're not interested. I talk to them about God and nothing's happening. But we don't know what's going on inside. So let's not give up. Let's not judge on appearances. Let's recognize God's stirring in people. I love the fact it says, obviously all of us normally would be reading this in the Greek. It says in the Greek here that Jesus was standing by the lake and there were 2 boats standing by the lake. My wife is studying theology and she gets excited about deep theological things, so I just have to try and pretend I'm excited by Greek and things occasionally. I was in a sermon the other week and I said something about the Bible and my wife shook her head at me mid-sermon. She's never done that before. Her theology has to stop. But just so she's impressed, I don't care about the rest of you's thoughts on Greek. I love the fact it's kind of like Jesus is standing by the water and there's a couple of boats casually standing by the water. And Jesus kind of casually goes, "Cool, I'll get in one of these," gets in one of these, starts and goes, "Oh, whose is this?" And he goes, "It's Simon's." I love that kind of, it's just like, just happened to get into Simon's. Could have got in the other one, could have got in James and John's, happened to be Simon's. I don't think God works like that. I think God's like, Well, I know which boat it is. I know what's going on. And he gets in the boat, and he's casually in a boat, and he goes, oh, Simon, come on, push out a little bit. Simon, who hasn't moved, suddenly finds himself out a little bit with Jesus. And I think God does that to us. That without us realizing, God starts to move our lives, and he takes us somewhere. And it's almost that, are you going to press into that and go, ooh, God's doing something? Or are we going to go back to where we were and go back to getting on with life as it was? And so Simon finds himself out. Jesus is teaching, and he's out with Jesus, and Jesus is stirring his life, and Simon has a choice. And the choice comes when Jesus is going to go out a little bit, and then it says, go out further. Go out, it says here, to the deep. And I wonder whether you're going out into the deep with God. Are you just getting on with your life and Jesus is kind of on the edge of it? Or are you willing to step out into the deep where you have to trust him? And I think that's a question for you and us as individuals, but also you as a church, as St. Matt's. Are we going to keep just hanging around, or are we going to go deeper? Are we going to step into a place where we have to trust God and we can't just do it in our own strength? And I love the fact that Simon trusts Jesus. When Jesus says, throw out your nets, everything in him, in his head, he's going, wrong time of day, Jesus. Carpenter, fisherman, I know best. Jesus, this isn't going to work. There's loads of reasons why I shouldn't give money to church. Jesus, this isn't going to work. There's loads of reasons why I shouldn't do this. But it says, Simon said, because it's your word, I'll do it. And I wonder whether in our lives, whether we have that kind of stirring thought of, maybe God wants me to do that. Maybe I should talk to that person. Maybe I need to look at whether I change jobs. And whether we push it away or we go, if this is you, God, I'll do it. I'll trust you. I'm not going to rely on myself. And so he does it. And he catches this huge catch of fish. Now I'm the least sporty person in the world. I have been fishing once. It wasn't great. But I know about fishermen. And if you catch a lot of fish, all you want to do is boast and talk about it. They catch this huge catch of fish. And what does Simon do? He doesn't go, oh, guys, let's get counting. He does it second time round. Doesn't do it this time. He doesn't go, wow, we've done amazingly. He falls to his knees before Jesus. He falls before Jesus. What's your reaction when you see God? When you come to church and God touches you? When there's a stirring in the worship? When there's a moment of God's encounter? When you see a miracle? Do we go, yes, this is such fun. Let's come to St. Matt's more. Do we go, yes, God's doing stuff. This is so cool. Or do we fall before the God of the universe and go, I am sinful. I need you. Without you, I'm a mess. I don't know that I do as much as I should. I think we live in a world where actually, if we're honest, we can get on with it. A job's all right. Family's all right. Life's all right. There's times when it's stressful. There's times of crisis, like the cost of living crisis. There's crisis for people from Ukraine. But if I'm honest, I can keep bumbling along. I think the church has got it wrong. I think in churches in the past, we've been so busy trying to say you're a miserable sinner, you're a worm, you need God, you deserve to go to hell, that we've covered people in shame and guilt, and that's not a good way to be. Because it says in the Bible, Jesus didn't come to condemn. But also there's churches where, if we're honest, we come and God just goes, I love you, you're cool, crack on. And there's something in between. The danger is we don't want church to be like Facebook. I would say like TikTok, but I don't know enough to say that. That when people put out on Facebook, oh, I had a terrible time at work, my boss is so horrible. And we're all going, oh, love you, bless, you're great. No, your boss is an idiot, you're brilliant, don't be put down, you're amazing, just feel better about yourself. When actually, there are people in this room where actually our bosses had a go at us, and probably it was deserved. They may have done it badly, but actually maybe we didn't do the right thing. Maybe we did make a mistake. There are relationships we're in where the other person treats us atrociously, but for some of us, those relationships, if we're honest, we're not treating them the best either. We live in a world where we're told you're worth it, and you are worth it. But also we live in a world where every one of us gets it wrong, where we're selfish, where we look at our own stuff and ignore the other person's needs. Every one of us, if we're honest, is totally and utterly loved by God. He delights in us. He says, you're my child in whom I love. I'm well pleased whether we've done anything or not. But also, he says there's stuff in our lives that's not right. And we all need to fall on our knees before him. And I love the fact that Simon goes, falls on his knees and says, I'm sinful, I shouldn't be with you. I don't deserve you, I'm not right, I'm a mess. And Jesus doesn't go, yes you are. Jesus knows the mess. And he says, don't be afraid. Don't worry. Don't live in fear of the brokenness you bring. But come anyway. Be honest about your mess. But come anyway. And I'm going to make you a fisher of people. A bit like we heard at the beginning of this service, that we come with our hearts that are not intact. We need to just show up, being fully who we are. And when we do that, God can do immeasurable things in us and through us. And so, they pulled up their boats onto shore, left everything and followed him. Simon's boat represents his business, his skills, his life. It was just standing around. Everything of Simon was standing around until Jesus got involved. And Jesus gave him a choice. Come a little bit. Come deep. Or pull it all up for me. Now, it's not actually as straightforward as it appears in that account, because it's highly likely that Simon then got his boat out later and did a bit more fishing. Not because he turned his back on Jesus, but because they hung around in Capernaum a lot, and the way things worked, he probably did more fishing after this moment. Probably for about the first year, he would have carried on fishing and living kind of hybrid life with Jesus, and later as the ministry picks up, he'd have left it behind. And I think that's really exciting, because that's how most of us are, unless you're a bishop. Or might, because the reality is most of you have to live your Christian faith with your boat, with your work, in your work. You can't just pull it all up and go, well, Jesus, money's sorted by you, life's sorted by you, put me in a house, make me a vicar. Most of us have to live out our faith in the midst of work. But the question is, are you all in? Are you bringing it all to him? I spent a lot of my life visiting churches and being told that people are exhausted and haven't got capacity and they can't serve in the church anymore, and volunteering is really difficult. And in many churches in Devon, I look, and at the same time as I see people unable to help at church, I see that they're volunteering for the National Trust a day a week, just to stereotype. That there are retired people in our churches who haven't got time to do the church stuff, but have time to serve the National Trust because they believe in it and they get a piece of flapjack. And I think there's something wrong. That I think as church we failed to give people vision for what are we giving our lives. So there's nothing wrong with the National Trust. What would you do on a bank holiday without it? But I think there's something wrong where we compartmentalize our life and go, I haven't got time for this, but I've got time for that. Where we go, I haven't got time to go out and share my faith or live out my faith, but I've got time to train for a marathon. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but I'm saying, are we all in? Are we making excuses of the God bit fits into this small space? Or are we saying, God is everything. I give it all to you. I live it all for you. And I want to live in a way that's not dependent on how good I am or how I feel, but is lived on my knees going, I need you. Without you, I can't do it. I'm all in. Why don't we stop and pray?